The day Daniel cheated, I sold his company secrets to his competitor. He knelt in the pouring rain, begging me to come back. Grace, Chloe's pregnant. I can't just abandon her. I smiled, showing him my pregnancy test results. What a coincidence, I'm pregnant too. Too bad, it's not yours. By the way, we tried to conceive for 3 years with no luck. Why do you think Chloe got pregnant on her first try? Later, Daniel's company went bankrupt. Chloe took his last bit of money and disappeared. He found me like a stray dog, his bloodshot eyes fixed on my pregnant belly. Grace, can we start over, please? Ethan wrapped his arm tighter around my waist. Mr. Daniel, he said, my wife and child are precious. We need to stay far away from rabid dogs. The cold metal instruments churned inside me, each slight movement tugging at my nerve endings, bringing dull throbs of pain. Hysterosalpingography? AMH levels? Ultrasound? These unpronounceable names and cold examinations felt like a slow torture, lasting a full 3 years. The medicine was agonizingly bitter. But for that home, for the shimmering, almost overflowing longing in Daniel's eyes every time he looked at other people's children, I endured it all. He said he loved children most of all. When we first decided to try for a baby, he dragged me around the mall for an entire day. Formula, baby bottles, colorful onesies, cribs adorned with stars and moons, they filled the entire trunk of our car. I laughed, joking he was stocking a baby store. His warm palm pressed against my lower abdomen, his voice so tender it could melt. Be good, baby. Mommy and Daddy have everything ready for you. We're just waiting for you to arrive. My phone vibrated stubbornly in my bag. The glaring name Daniel lit up on the screen. He'd promised to accompany me to the hospital this afternoon, but he'd broken his word again. The company was in its growth phase, and as CEO, he was busy. Many social engagements, many business dinners. I understood, and I tried not to bother him. Pushing open the front door, I found Daniel sprawled on the sofa, dead asleep, his expensive suit jacket wrinkled and draped over the armrest. I silently turned and walked into the kitchen. The hangover remedy was bubbling in the pot, alongside chicken noodle soup, grilled salmon, and roasted sweet potatoes, his comfort food when his stomach was upset. He always drank on an empty stomach during social gatherings, then came home and curled up on the sofa complaining of stomach pain. To appease his ruined stomach, I had practically forced myself to become a nutritionist. Buzz, 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 on the coffee table, his phone buzzed like a death knell, shaking irritatingly. It was probably company business. I couldn't be bothered with it, so I just hit mute. As soon as I returned to the kitchen, the annoying vibrations started again. I called out to him, Daniel? Phone. He mumbled an incoherent sound, rolled over, and his snoring continued. He was really sound asleep. Unlike me, a single worry could keep me awake until dawn. When I couldn't sleep before, I'd shake him awake and talk endlessly. But half the time, I'd turn around and he'd already drifted off to dreamland. Fearing it truly was an emergency, I finally picked up the persistently flashing phone. Daniel? A voice so soft it sounded like it could melt butter whispered into my ear, tinged with a panicked whimper. I think I'm pregnant. My breath caught in my throat. Last time. I must have forgotten to take my birth control. The voice was sticky with aggrieved self-pity. What do I do, Daniel? The doctor said my fallopian tube walls are thin, and if I miscarry, I might never be able to get pregnant again. And I love this baby so much. I can feel its heartbeat, just like yours. Daniel? Daniel, say something. My heart was suddenly seized by a cold hand, squeezed tight. My phone slipped from my grasp, hitting the floor with a dull thud that exploded in the deathly quiet living room. I bent down, my fingertips touching the cold phone case, as if I'd touched a venomous snake. My fingertips trembled uncontrollably. It's okay, Grace, don't panic. This wasn't the first time. Hadn't there been plenty of women throwing themselves at him before? Weren't they all just deluding themselves? He was young and accomplished, and handsome too. It was normal for him to attract attention. I desperately tried to psych myself up, to steady my trembling hand and gently place the phone back next to him. My fingertips brushed against his arm. Daniel frowned, opening his eyes hazily. What's wrong? Nothing. I quickly turned my face away. Burned my hand, was looking for ointment, bumped into you. He grumbled vaguely, his voice hoarse from a hangover. I told you before to hire a housekeeper, but you refused. Now you know what pain feels like. He had suggested hiring a housekeeper, but I had refused. Our home couldn't accommodate strangers. Now, that reason felt like a cold joke, a stinging slap across my face. That night, I lay awake, staring at the blurry outline of the ornate chandelier on the ceiling, until the morning light from outside the window completely diluted it. The next day, for the first time ever, I slept until noon. I ignored his dress shoes, tie, briefcase, and simply tossed his dirty clothes into the laundry hamper. When he returned from work and saw me sprawled on the sofa watching TV, he was first surprised, then a pained smile spread across his face, and he took a few steps to hug me. My dear wife, you've worked hard. Just rest today. Try your husband's cooking. From now on, your only job is to be beautiful. Watching him clumsily head into the kitchen, I spoke, my voice calm, without a ripple of emotion. Don't bother. I know everything. Chloe added me on WhatsApp last night. Chloe's WhatsApp profile picture was a selfie of her and Daniel snuggled together, their smiles blinding. She said, a child can't grow up without a father. I can rot away in the shadows, but my child cannot. Pinned to the top of her social media post were several more revealing photos. Daniel with his arm around her, kissing her forehead, against the backdrop of the Maldives' azure waters. Below them, a flood of likes and blessings from mutual friends, a perfect match. Finally, happiness after waiting. Mr. Daniel, you're so lucky. It turned out, the whole world was laughing at me. Only I, like a complete fool, had been kept in the dark for 7 years. The smile on Daniel's face instantly froze, like a rigid mask. He spun around abruptly, explaining frantically, Grace, don't listen to her nonsense. Don't you know what Chloe is like? Her parents spoiled her rotten since childhood. She's out of control, always messing around. Don't stoop to her level. I looked at him, at this face I had once been so infatuated with, and my heart sank little by little. Childish temper? I repeated softly, as if chewing on a piece of ice, cold and hard. She'd use a part of her own body, a baby inside her, just to mess around? Chloe, his junior colleague. Even in college, he had shown her exceptional care. He helped her with experiments, wrote papers for her, and even ran small errands like picking up packages. When she wanted to join the company after graduation, I had strongly opposed it. What did Daniel say at the time? Grace, you're overthinking it. She's just an immature junior colleague of mine, and her family is struggling. As her senior, how could I just stand by and do nothing? He swore up and down. Under his assurance of purely helping, Chloe joined the company's finance department. The department and the executive office were 3 floors apart. I thought that would be safe enough. When the lie was exposed, Daniel's face changed, rapidly morphing from guilty pallor to a furious, liver-like red. He took a sudden step forward, his voice rising sharply, fueled by an utterly absurd rage. Grace. D. Oh, you know how tired I've been all these years? I've been carrying this entire family on my shoulders. Carrying the company. Every single thing you've worn or eaten, wasn't I out there slaving away for it? I'm exhausted. Miss. Please be more understanding. Can you just have some consideration for me? He seemed to have finally found an outlet for his frustration, growing more agitated with every word. Do you know how much blood, sweat, and tears I've poured into building this company from scratch? Chloe is in a critical finance position. Can I just casually move her? If I did, who would be responsible for any accounting issues? My parents are getting old, they just want a grandchild. Can't you even do something as simple as calmly preparing for pregnancy at home? Can you please have some consideration for me? Have some consideration for my aging parents' wishes? His mouth was still moving, his high-sounding excuses buzzing like a swarm of disgusting flies. I expressionlessly pulled out my phone, opened the video Chloe had accidentally sent, turned the volume to maximum, and shoved it right in front of his face. On the screen, 2 naked bodies writhed and tangled on a hotel's king-sized bed, their gasps and moans unbearable to hear. It was my husband and his immature junior colleague. Daniel's voice cut off abruptly, as if an invisible hand had clamped around his throat. The color drained from his face instantly, leaving him ashen white. 7 years of marriage, 3 years of trying for a baby, and everything that belonged to me only filled 3 suitcases. I didn't take any of the expensive handbags and jewelry from the walk-in closet. They reeked of betrayal, they disgusted me. Dragging the suitcases to the entryway, my hand gripped the cold doorknob, and a thought struck me like lightning. My mother's keepsake. That cherished silver locket, which she had personally handed to Daniel on her deathbed, using her last bit of strength to say, Please watch over Grace for me." How ironic. I grabbed my phone, my fingertips cold as I dialed. "Where's my mom's keepsake?" "Grace, stop this, okay?" Daniel's voice was thick with exhaustion and a hint of almost imperceptible panic. I was a jerk this time, I admit it. "Give me some time to calm down, I promise I'll handle everything." "Cut the crap." I sharply interrupted him. "I asked you, where is it?" Silence hung on the other end for a few seconds, then an address was recited. I started the car, its roar tearing through the false tranquility of the neighborhood. Apex, soaring into the clouds, its cold, luxurious glass facade reflecting the dazzling sunlight like a massive, ornate metal tombstone, burying my 7 years of devotion and wishful thinking. The path was clear. The security guard recognized my face, that of the CEO's wife, and let me pass with a shifty glance. The heavy solid oak door of the executive office was right in front of me. But a hand reached out, blocking my way. It was Chloe. She was wearing a perfectly tailored cream-colored Chanel suit, her makeup flawlessly exquisite, her stomach flat, showing no signs of pregnancy whatsoever. She slightly raised her chin, her voice soft but with an undeniable authority. "Grace, Daniel is in a very important board meeting. It's not convenient to disturb him right now." "Not convenient?" I looked at her. "I'm his legal wife. Do I need your permission to see him?" And I took a step closer, my gaze coldly sweeping over her flat stomach, a cold curve on my lips. "The only reason you're standing here is because I approved it back then. What, now that you've settled in, you've forgotten your place?" A crack appeared in Chloe's composure. Her eyes immediately reddened, and her voice became a pitiful whimper. "Grace, I know you're angry, you hate me, but it's really not what you think. Daniel and I." "Oh?" I raised an eyebrow, watching her performance with amusement. "Then what is it? I'm curious to hear what kind of earth-shattering hidden truth allows you to so righteously climb into another woman's husband's bed." Her tears fell silently, a fragile, wronged expression on her face. "It's my fault, it's all my fault. I made a mistake in a moment of confusion, I'll take all the responsibility, you can hit me or scold me, whatever you want. But is innocent, and the baby is even more innocent." Well, I laughed out loud. "You're a mistress, and you're playing the victim? Who are you putting on this show for? I knew Daniel long before you did." She suddenly lifted her head, her tear-filled eyes flashing with resentment and malice, her voice growing sharp. "You just got lucky and got the marriage certificate first. The one who isn't loved is the real third party." Looking at her tear-streaked, pitiful expression, a strong wave of nausea surged into my throat, my stomach churning. I roughly pushed her aside and twisted the doorknob to the office. "Ow!" Behind me, Chloe let out an exaggerated cry of pain and a shriek. She conveniently fell onto the carpet, clutching her stomach. "My stomach, it hurts so much. Daniel, save our baby." Almost simultaneously, the conference room door burst open. Daniel charged out like a mad lion, his bloodshot eyes fixed on my face, a look so ferocious he seemed ready to devour me whole. "Grace, whatever you have against me, come at me. Don't touch Chloe and the baby," he roared, grabbing something from his desk drawer and, with a full heart of rage, slammed it onto the floor. With a sharp crack, that cherished silver locket, my mother's last memento to me, bounced off the cold, hard marble floor and rolled to my feet. Daniel didn't even glance at the shattered locket. He carefully and frantically helped Chloe up, as if she were a priceless treasure. With his arm around her waist, he rushed towards the elevator without looking back. The huge wedding photo on the living room wall looked like a giant, silent mocking face. I had spent months running around under the scorching sun to choose the location for our new home. Every tile, every piece of wallpaper, every lamp in its decoration was something I had personally chosen, burning the midnight oil until my eyes were red. Even himself, I had chosen him with my own hands. I thought all of this would be with me forever. How laughable. What you build with your own hands, you can naturally also destroy with your own hands. I brought over a stool, stepped onto it, and my fingers touched the cold edge of the photo frame. With a forceful tug, crash, the huge glass photo frame crashed to the floor, the sound of it shattering crisp, almost melodious. The flying shards of glass were like hail, grazing my arm and leaving a thin, stinging red mark. A drop of crimson blood rolled down, landing precisely on the scattered photos on the floor. In the photo, a young Daniel sat by a campfire, holding an acoustic guitar, while a group of friends cheered him on. The campfire glowed red on his handsome face, and also on my eyes, which were shy yet full of love. When the song ended, amidst everyone's cheers and whistles, he knelt on one knee and held up the simple ring to me. The shock and ecstasy of that moment almost burst through my chest. My fingers trembling, I flipped the photo over. On the back of the photo was the vow he had personally written back then, his handwriting bold and strong, pressing through the paper. Grace, I met you when I had nothing. All I could give you was my unwavering choice and profound love. Time truly flies. In the blink of an eye, we've been together for 1201 days. I will show you through my actions that I love you. Grace, marry me. Coward. Liar. Jerk. Every word felt like a searing hot iron, burning deeply into my heart. Those fervent vows still echoed in my ears, yet all that remained before my eyes was the wreckage of betrayal and that dust-covered, shattered locket. A tearing pain erupted in my chest, rapidly spreading through my entire body. Gasping, my gaze fell on another photo. In the photo, he stood beneath an oak tree at Capital University, wearing a faded shirt, his posture tall and straight, his eyes clear yet holding an unyielding stubbornness. It was that fleeting glimpse that made me completely fall for him, without hesitation. My best friend Hannah even teased me then. Oh, so our handsome Ethan isn't good enough for Miss Grace anymore? If you don't want him, I'll take him. I ignored her teasing. Tell me, who was that poor kid in the white shirt today? Him, Hannah leaned in, lowering her voice. He's quite a legend. I heard he came from a small fishing village, his family was dirt poor, and he earned his tuition by working part-time. But his grades were excellent, he'd been top of his major 3 times in a row. I secretly clenched my jaw, determined to pluck this unattainable flower. On our first date, he was awkward, so I took him to the cheapest diner I knew. When we went to pay, the server said I had already paid. He flushed red, stubbornly stuffing a wad of crumpled cash into my hand, his gaze insistent. On the way, we ran into his roommates, who started teasing. Whoa, Daniel. Way to go. You actually got the head of the Grace sorority? How many rich kids from State University failed at that? What's your secret, man? I didn't care. Back then, I just felt that love was all we needed. But I never imagined how young love, no matter how fervent, could unravel into bitter resentment and everyday chaos. The train roared as it pulled away from the platform, the city outside the window rapidly receding. High-rises, neon lights, traffic, slowly shrinking, blurring, finally disappearing below the horizon. Buried along with the man I once considered my entire world. 7 years. Washed away. The neighborhood alley was still narrow and cramped, imbued with the everyday charm of years gone by. The buildings on both sides stubbornly obscured mows. Tea of the sky. Clothes drying on balconies dripped water, making small splashes on the moss-covered flagstones. Patter, patter. The noodle shop at the alley entrance, still there, just as I remembered. Boss, 1 bowl of fresh shrimp wontons. The familiar taste rolled down my throat, so hot my eyes watered. All the world's splendor, in the end, couldn't compare to the comfort brought by this bowl of hometown wontons. After filling my stomach, I returned to the empty old family home. Dust danced in the slanted shafts of sunlight. Longing spread silently like wild vines in the stillness, constricting my heart with pain, finding only faint solace in dreams. In my dream, a summer afternoon, the cicada's noisy chirping brought a sense of calm. Dad scooped out the sweetest heart of the chilled watermelon for me, and Mom, fanning herself with a palm leaf fan, gently patted the mosquito net, humming a tuneless lullaby, over and over. The village elders said tomorrow was all day. They said the gates between worlds often weren't properly closed, and that the departed would come back to visit their loved ones. Mom and Dad, will you come back to see me? Do you know? Daniel, he finally betrayed me. I'm a disobedient child. I deserve punishment. My father's warning still echoed in my ears. I admit he's very talented, but perhaps because he's experienced so many hardships growing up, there's a certain ruthlessness to his character. And that ruthlessness might make him do things you could never imagine. On her deathbed, my mother's withered hand gripped Daniel's tightly, demanding he kneel by her bed and swear, Daniel, swear, in this life, if you ever betray Grace, you will never find peace. During the toughest period of his startup, he failed an investment, fell deep into debt, and like a beaten man, he'd curl up all day in the musty corner of our small rental apartment, numbing himself with alcohol. When the tree fell, the monkeys scattered, but only I stayed by his side. At the grubby local market, we picked out the barely edible cherries one by one from a pile of discounted ones. He washed them meticulously, not eating a single one himself, feeding them all into my mouth, his eyes sparkling. Grace, is it sweet? When I turn my life around, I'll buy you a whole carload. At night, he would always hold me tightly, his arms squeezing me until I ached, as if I would vanish the moment he let go. Back then, he was truly afraid of losing me, like a drowning man clutching at his only piece of driftwood. Daniel, you underestimated my determination to see you through. You once said I was the only light in your life. Now, looking back, I overestimated my importance in your heart. Light? Perhaps I was just cheap fuel you could grab when you were at your wit's end. I could have had a good life. My parents were respectable people, and our family was well off. Before that damned car accident, my world was filled only with sunshine and love. I could have found someone from a matching background, and lived a stable, smooth, ordinary yet happy life. But I insisted on choosing Daniel, insisted on crashing into that wall called reality with him, leaving myself broken and my family ruined. My mother pampered me like a princess, and my father held me in the palm of his hand. They couldn't bear to see me suffer with Daniel, so they emptied their savings, even leveraged their connections, and placed the capital and resources for his comeback into his hands. It was with that money, and that goodwill, that Daniel gradually climbed to the position of a rising star in the business world. I rolled up my sleeves and began cleaning the thick layer of dust from the old house. In the yard, the wild rose's branches sprawled aggressively, almost covering half the garden wall, blooming vibrantly and unruly. I picked up the scissors and snipped away, snip, snip, as if cutting off the tangled past. After clearing away the overgrown weeds, I went to the flower market. ND brought back a pot of blooming purple hyacinths, placing it on the windowsill, watching its petals unfurl in the sunlight. Inside the room, the light blue bed sheets and comforter were neatly folded, just as my mother used to keep them, now covered only with a thin layer of dust. On the wall hung a photo of me at 6 years old, wearing a purple princess dress, holding my father's hand with one hand and my mother's with the other, laughing carefree on the park grass, sunshine filling the entire world. Everything declared how warm and complete this place once was. While cleaning a stack of dusty old books in the corner, an unassuming, equally dusty keepsake box fell out. Opening it, I found a stack of yellowed letters, unsigned. Only a phone number remained at the bottom of each page. The handwriting was bold and unrestrained, carrying a familiar, reckless youthful energy. On a strange impulse, I dialed the number. It was answered almost instantly. Hello? A deep, magnetic male voice responded, carrying a sense of familiarity that spanned a long time, striking me instantly. My heart gave a sharp leap and my throat tightened. Ethan? It's me. The voice paused, like a keen hunting dog catching a strange scent on the wind, and his tone immediately turned serious. Grace? Your voice sounds off. Did Daniel hurt you? Damn it. Do they really think our family has no one left? His voice suddenly rose, carrying an uncontrollable fury. I could feel the aggression through the phone. Then it softened just as quickly. Don't cry. Grace, please don't cry. When you cry, I don't know what to do. Wait for me. I'm booking a flight back right now. Wait for me. He cheated. I sniffled, trying hard to suppress the sob in my throat, but tears poured down uncontrollably, splashing hot onto the back of my hand. Mom and Dad, a car accident 2 years ago, they're gone. Ethan. I'm all alone now. The pent-up resentment and despair, accumulated for too long, burst forth. Like a dam breaking in front of that familiar voice. On the other end of the line, there was a long silence, broken only by suppressed, heavy breaths, one after another. Ethan, my next-door neighbor, my childhood's exclusive Santa. When I was little, whenever Mom got angry, she'd take away my allowance money. I would write down what I wanted on a piece of paper and slip it into our secret mailbox. A small hole in the wall between his family's courtyard and ours. My Santa was actually quite poor. On his 5th birthday, Uncle and Aunt asked him what gift he wanted. Transformers? He shook his head. PSP game console? He shook his head. The complete detective series? Still shook his head. Little, with his chubby face, was serious. Just give me the cash equivalent of the cake and gifts, I want to save money. Aunt laughed, calling him a little miser. But all that treasure he so diligently guarded eventually became my Barbie dolls, sparkly hair clips, pretty headbands, and countless little dresses. In middle school, Ethan was already the most dazzling presence on the basketball court, his desk overflowing with love letters. To ward off the swarms of trouble, he asked me to pretend to be his girlfriend. To make it realistic, he even put on an elaborate confession ceremony, flowers, candles, balloons, arranged into a huge heart shape on the sports field. After a big win in the basketball game, the whole class started chanting, insisting his girlfriend kiss him in front of everyone. I frantically gave him a look, "Dude, you're overdoing it. That's enough." But he seemed not to notice, leaning in with a somewhat hazy gaze. Just in the nick of time. Instinctively, I delivered a perfectly aimed low blow. "Ow. Uncle, I'm truly sorry, your son was the one who took the act too seriously first." A few days later, in a corner of the airport coffee shop. He was wearing a sharply tailored black trench coat, his figure tall and straight, his demeanor cool and austere, like a drawn blade, carrying the dust of travel. But the moment he looked up and saw me, that icy coldness instantly melted, his gaze as soft as a sun-warmed stream, brimming with too many complex emotions. Worry, heartache, and a hint of deeply suppressed, survivor's relief. Like a golden retriever that was clearly angry but was easily smoothed over. Strangely, the moment I saw him standing there, the massive stone that had weighed on my heart for so long seemed to shift, allowing a sliver of faint light to seep through. To help me clear my head, he took me to the plains. Outside the car window, the evening glow spread across half the sky like burning flames. The desolation of the Gobi, the vastness of the prairie, the silence of the wilderness, the smoke from village chimneys, sped past beneath the wheels, like a moving oil painting. The prairie night was intoxicatingly profound. The stars hung low, seemingly within reach. Wrapped in thick wool blankets, we sat by the crackling campfire. Ethan told me about his travels over the years. His encounter battling pickpockets under the Eiffel, the embarrassing altitude sickness incident while on pilgrimage to Grand National Park, and the breathtaking moment of seeing the northern explode overhead in Iceland, freezing himself stiff just for the view. I listened, captivated, as the campfire illuminated his profile. At some point, his breath quietly drew near, carrying the scent of prairie winds and campfire embers. His cool fingertips gently brushed the stray hairs blown by the wind near my ear, sending a subtle shiver through me. Tiny, warm kisses, like testing butterflies, landed softly on my earlobe and the side of my neck. With a careful tenderness, the dam of my reason collapsed the moment our lips met. All the suppressed pain, the coldness of betrayal, the despair of losing loved ones, found an outlet in that kiss, scented with grass and campfire. Inside the dimly lit yurt, the air was dizzyingly thin. Ambiguous light and shadows swayed on the rough felt walls. The world spun, leaving only our burning breaths and thundering heartbeats. Outside the window, a sudden prairie night rain arrived. Thunder rumbled, and raindrops pelted the felt roof. On the table, Daniel's phone vibrated wildly, its screen stubbornly flashing on and off, then on again. So loud. I reached out, fumbling for the annoying phone, turned it off, then pried out the tiny SIM card and tossed it casually into the dark corner, like discarding a rotten, stinking past. Snow should not fall on scorching sand, and love should never be given to someone who doesn't deserve it. We set up a grill on the plains of the plains. Lamb kebabs sizzled on the charcoal grill, oil dripping, the aroma filling the air. Ethan was clumsily sprinkling chili powder on them, coughing from the spice. Daniel found us anyway. He was travel-worn, the hem of his expensive suit stained with grass and mud, his hair messy from the wind. He looked a bit disheveled, with heavy dark circles under his eyes. "Grace," he walked up to me, his voice dry and hoarse, adopting a deliberately low, almost humble posture. "Can we start over, please?" He struggled to utter the words, his gaze locked on my face. "Let the past be the past. I swear, I'll take care of everything, and give you an explanation." He eagerly pulled a document from his briefcase. "Look, this is the company's share transfer agreement. I'm transferring half the shares to your name. It's a guarantee, and a constraint on me. If I, Daniel, ever betray you again, the entire company will be yours." I looked at the dense red veins in his eyes, at his so-called sincerity, and found it utterly ironic. That paper agreement, at this moment, felt light and utterly meaningless. I calmly pulled another document from my canvas tote bag and handed it to him. "Daniel, I've thought this through very clearly. Even the best movies eventually end. We are no different. I don't regret my choice back then, even if it meant getting hurt. I paused, meeting his suddenly constricted, disbelieving pupils. But now, I no longer love you. I just want to be far away from you, from all of you. Here are the divorce papers. I've clearly outlined the division of joint assets. If you have no issues, please sign. Before he could react, I turned to look at Ethan, who was walking towards us with a large handful of freshly grilled, glistening kebabs. Oh, right, let me introduce you. This is my boyfriend, Ethan. Ethan had a lazy smile on his face. He swayed the fragrant kebab, heavily sprinkled with chili powder and cumin, in front of Daniel, his tone playfully provocative and openly triumphant. Senior? Care for a bite? Fresh off the grill, crispy on the outside, tender on the inside, spicy and numbing, Grace loves these. He deliberately enunciated Grace clearly and intimately. Daniel's face instantly drained of all color, turning ashen white. His lips trembled, his gaze fixed on me, the red veins in his eyes looking ready to burst. His usually clear voice was impossibly hoarse. Grace, just one, can't I even have one more chance? For the sake of 7 years. No. I looked directly at him, enunciating each word clearly, severing all his illusions. Watching his distraught appearance, I suddenly felt apathetic. Forget it. I looked away. Let's part ways amicably. Don't waste my time. The next morning, the local guide with a thick accent mysteriously approached me, pointing into the distance. Friend, last night, there was a fool, standing in that heavy rain all night. He gestured exaggeratedly. Oh my. Couldn't even talk him out of it. He insisted on waiting. Said he'd wait till morning, wait till you came out. It's bizarre. What if something happened to him here? Wouldn't it ruin the reputation of our plains? How would we raise our cattle and sheep then? Friend. The man pointed to his own head, looking puzzled and disgusted. Don't understand. Something must be wrong up here. Ethan slowly sipped his hot milk tea, glanced at the gloomy horizon in the distance, and spoke calmly. The weather on the plains never welcomes unwelcome guests. He put down his cup and naturally took my hand. Let's go, Grace. It's windy, don't catch a cold. Even the most beautiful starry sky, once tainted by foul entanglement, loses its appeal. Like a fragrant bowl of lamb soup, suddenly ruined by a rat dropping. Disgusting. Lost all interest. Ethan and I ended our trip to the plains early and returned to the old house. I needed to shut off the world's noise completely, allowing my battered self to slowly heal in familiar security. Days flowed slowly like a stream, in peace. We fell asleep embracing each other. No matter how awkward our sleeping position was at night, the first thing I did when I woke up in the morning was instinctively burrow into his arms, like a small animal looking for food, nudging and nudging until I woke him up. He said I was like a wounded kitten finally finding its refuge, a tiny, soft ball curled up in his arms. After holding me for a while, he would gently nudge me, looking innocent. My arm's gone numb, let's switch sides. He carefully pulled his arm from under my neck, rolled to the other side, and then gently settled my head onto his other arm. I would roll over again, continuing to snuggle into his warm embrace, greedily soaking up that reassuring warmth. Next to him, I always slept exceptionally deeply, and exceptionally early. Often, I would just roll over and fall into such a deep sleep, as if making up for all the sleep I'd missed in the past few years. The consequence of sleeping early was waking up exceptionally early too. In the early morning, sunlight streamed through the old-fashioned paned window, casting warm light spots on the mottled floor. I always loved lying on my side, gazing at his sleeping face over and over again. His thick eyelashes cast a small shadow beneath his eyes. His prominent nose, his slightly pursed, beautifully shaped lips. I could never get enough of gazing at him. He always seemed to sense my gaze. With his eyes closed, he would extend a long arm and pull me into his embrace, resting his chin on the top of my head, his voice thick with sleep and lazy warmth. It's still early. Sleep a bit more. I can't sleep anymore. I mumbled softly, my fingers unconsciously tracing circles on his chest. He would then gently pat my back intermittently, like coaxing a baby to sleep, the rhythm slow and tender. Seeing that my eyes were still open, gazing at him with shining eyes, he simply covered my eyes with his palm, his slightly calloused palm warm against my face. I would forcefully pry open his fingers, peeking through the gaps. Grace, he said with his eyes closed, his voice holding a playfully dangerous warning and a trace of imperceptible amusement. I'm asking you one more time, are you going to sleep? I really can't sleep, I whined, pressing my body closer. Fine, he suddenly opened his eyes, his dark pupils devoid of any sleepiness, filled instead with mischievous amusement and burning intensity. Then don't regret it. Morning kisses, imbued with the warmth unique to a night of sound sleep, began as tender explorations, intertwining gently yet possessively, until every last trace of slumber was banished, leaving only the mingled rhythm of our breaths and heartbeats. He said my eyelids were visibly creased when I was half asleep, making me look especially lovely, like a languid Persian cat. And so, the time spent lounging in bed grew longer and longer, as if to make up for all the lazy moments I'd missed in the past. Until one day, I couldn't take it anymore and kicked him squarely on his muscular calf. Ethan, I'm starving. I could eat a horse. When I slowly finished my morning routine and came out to breakfast, meticulously prepared by him, was always set on the table. Sometimes it was perfectly golden sunny-side U.P. eggs with crispy toast, other times steaming wontons, always accompanied by a glass of milk at just the right temperature. In the evening, we rode that creaky old-fashioned cruiser bike out for a spin. I sat on the front crossbar, the wind sweeping past my skirt hem, making it billow like a small sail. Two shadows, one in front and one behind, chased and played in the dappled tree shade. I could clearly hear the steady, powerful sound of him pedaling hard, much like the vigorous beat of a young heart. Out of the corner of my eye, his cycling shadow clung close to my bike's frame, just like countless nights when he would hold me from behind as I fell asleep, providing me with the safest harbor. We were heading towards our small, warm home, just for the two of us. It turned out that with the right person, even mundane everyday life could be transformed into a series of small, shimmering romantic moments. The peace was shattered by the frantic vibration of an unknown number. Chloe was sobbing uncontrollably on the phone, her voice shrill and desperate. Grace. Grace, please. Daniel. Daniel is missing. The company is in chaos. Several major projects are waiting for his signature. The bank's collection calls have been non-stop. So many things, and no one can make a decision. Grace, Apex. Apex is your and Daniel's combined effort. Can you really bear to see it collapse? 4. For the sake of our past connection. Holding the phone, I walked to the window, looking at the small wild roses Ethan had just planted in the yard, their tender green leaves unfurling in the sunlight. My tone was calm and unwavering, even carrying a hint of detachment, as if it had nothing to do with me. Yes, I can. With that, I decisively hung up the phone and casually blocked the number. After all, the rival company was able to precisely target several of Daniel's key projects, leaving him defenseless, all thanks to the core confidential information I had anonymously sold to them. In the evening, I went downstairs to throw out the trash. The lingering glow of the setting sun stretched the shadow of the courtyard wall long. Suddenly, a dark figure darted out from the shadow of the courtyard wall, carrying a heavy, nauseating stale cigarette and alcohol smell. It was Daniel. He looked like a completely different person. His face was unshaven, his eye sockets sunken like black holes, his bloodshot eyes staring vacantly at me. His expensive suit, once sharp and symbolic of his status, was now as wrinkled as a dried pickle, his tie askew, and his entire being exuded a zombie-like decay and despair. His lips moved, as if he wanted to say something, but only a hoarse gurgle came from his throat. I didn't hear it clearly, and I didn't care to listen. That once charming and handsome face that used to stir my heart now only filled me with annoyance and a touch of pity. If I had known then what I know now, why would I have ever started? Just then, Ethan's voice came from inside the house, carrying warmth and a hint of imperceptible vigilance. Grace? Taking so long to throw out the trash? Come back quickly for dinner. The soup's getting cold. Coming. I called out in response, my voice clear and light. Without even glancing at the miserable figure in the shadows, I turned and walked away, my steps not faltering in the slightest. Behind me, that desperate gaze, where the last glimmer of hope had completely died, dimmed entirely, fading into the deep twilight. A year later, there were days when I just felt off. I was sluggish, had no energy, and felt incredibly sleepy, wanting to sleep 25 hours a day if I could. Even the barbecue ribs, homemade mac cheese, and chicken pot pie that Ethan cooked in various ways, all my favorites, tasted like cardboard, and just smelling them made me feel nauseous. Was I tired of the food? Or had I eaten something bad? Why did I keep feeling like throwing up? Ethan's brows furrowed, and his expression grew more serious. Why the day, insisting on taking me to the hospital. I clung to his arm, whining, burying my head in his neck. No. Shots hurt. Medicine is bitter. And checkups are so annoying. I'll be fine after a nap. Really? It's just. I might have been too tired recently. Ethan wasn't having any of it. Adamant, he dug me out of the sofa, half coaxing, half forcing me to the hospital. Registration, waiting in line, blood tests, ultrasound. After all that hassle, the elderly doctor, with thick glasses and gray hair, handed me a flimsy lab report, then turned to a nervous Ethan behind me, speaking earnestly. You're her husband, correct? From now on, she needs plenty of rest, no late nights, and her emotions must be kept stable. Oh, the old doctor pushed up his glasses. The first 3 months are crucial, no intimacy. Remember that. Cigarettes, alcohol, raw foods, absolutely forbidden. Also, don't let her touch strong tea, coffee, or carbonated drinks, anything stimulating. Diet-wise, focus on folic acid supplements. Eat more leafy greens, lean meats, corn, and crisp lettuce. I'll give you a list later. The doctor rattled off a long list of precautions. Ethan listened with extreme seriousness, his back ramrod straight, nodding repeatedly. His focused expression was like he was listening to the most important instructions, almost ready to pull out a notepad and write it all down. As for me, clutching that flimsy lab report, staring at the small yet monumental positive plus symbol on it, my entire mind went blank. Pregnant? On the way back, Ethan was as nervous as a child just learning to walk, practically wanting to carry me in his hands, constantly watching my feet as we walked. At the hospital entrance, those 3 ordinary steps, he carefully supported me, muttering non-stop, slowly. Slowly. Be careful. Watch your step. Hey, I said, both amused and exasperated. Ethan, I just got pregnant. The embryo is probably as big as a soybean. I'm not about to give birth. I am perfectly capable of walking quickly. I intentionally stomped my foot to prove I was perfectly fine. He didn't listen at all, still following closely, his eyes filled with an unshakable nervousness and the adorable foolishness of a first-time father. Back home, he immediately transformed into the human embodiment of doctor's orders. Referring to the long list the doctor had given him, he began a major sweep of the house. My snack drawer was the first target. Chocolate? Gone. Ice cream? Hidden in the deepest part of the freezer. Coffee? Along with the coffee maker, locked in the storage room cabinet. Even my favorite diet soda wasn't spared. A villain's tricks are always one step ahead. Did he really think Grace was so easy to control? I always found opportunities. Whenever he went downstairs to get a delivery or was busy in the kitchen, like a little mouse sneaking cheese, I would slip out to the neighborhood convenience store, secretly buy a popsicle, and hide in the stairwell corner, eagerly taking a big bite. But seemed to have a radar. Every time, he would precisely bust me from all sorts of hidden corners. He would look at me with a solemn face, not saying a word, his eyes filled with helplessness, indulgence, and a hint of seeing where else I could hide. Then he would resolutely confiscate my contraband, lead me back home, and hand me a glass of warm milk or fresh juice. The once docile and considerate golden retriever had completely transformed into a clingy, vigilant shadow and a strict disciplinarian. At night, I deliberately snuggled up to him, my fingers tracing circles on his firm chest, feeling his muscles instantly tense and his breathing grow heavy, watching him feign composure, his Adam's apple bobbing. He kept a straight face, trying hard to maintain a facade of perfect propriety, but his ears quietly flushed, and his gaze darted away. His expression, clearly wanting something desperately but having to restrain himself, was utterly adorable. Until one morning, a thought flashed through my mind without warning. What if there had never been anything wrong with my body? Then all those 3 years of trying to conceive, the endless checkups, the bitter medicine. Could it be that Daniel was the one with the problem all along? So, Chloe's child, the one she swore by, the one meant to usurp him. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. See you next time.